Hi everybody, this is Mike Andrew once again providing a short video with practical insights as it applies to business and leadership. Today I'm wearing my Saudi thobe, and I'm doing it in the spirit of the end of the Ramadan season, the beginning of Eid, and always in appreciation of my good dear friends and colleagues in Saudi Arabia. So I hope you like it, and by the way, it's extremely comfortable. Today I want to build off my last video, which was about character and integrity, and talk about something that I think we can all relate to: humility. Humility. Humility as a professional, humility as a leader, humility in our everyday lives. You know, I have a boss, great guy, and he's always thinking of ways to improve, to make a bigger and greater contribution to the business, make a greater impact. And I always joke with him that, you make me feel lazy because you do all the thinking and you ask for my reaction to his thinking. But I guess I kind of like that. I'm comfortable with him doing all the thinking and me doing reacting to his thinking. One of the things he's been thinking about lately is humility and leadership, and which I think we can all relate to. And by the way, you don't have to define what humility is. You don't have to define what arrogance is. These two concepts, we know it when we see it. So Jim Collins, the well-known author, he wrote the book Good to Great, and he wrote other books after that. He once said that humility is the X factor in leadership. I like that. Humility is the X factor in leadership. What's interesting is this past week I got requested by a consulting firm in Singapore to take part in this global survey around the top leadership traits. And so far in the lead in this global survey, the top leadership trait is humility, beyond setting a vision or executing, being humble, having that sense of humility. Coming from Boston, one of the big sports teams that we grew up with was hockey, ice hockey. It was the king of sports in hockey. And our hockey team is the Boston Bruins. And one of the hockey players back in the 60s and 70s is named Bobby Orr. He's in his 70s today. Without a doubt, in my opinion, and in many people's opinion, the greatest hockey player that ever lived, period. There was no one that could skate like him, no one that could skate with that speed, with that grace, with that smoothness. He would do these 360 spins that people try to do today and they don't come close. He revolutionized the game. When he was on the ice, everything revolved around him. So people still to this day greatly appreciate how great a hockey player he was. But what they love more about him and what continues to make him so endearing in the hearts of the Boston fans is we never saw an athlete more humble than Bobby Orr. It was amazing to see then and amazing to see now. We look at celebrities and we try to find those celebrities that have humility. We see a lot with arrogance. Mother Teresa, who's now a saint, exemplified humility with her work dealing with the poorest of the poor in Calcutta, India. Exemplified humility. I look at my company and I look at the current and the last two CEOs. I could easily consider them people with humility. Confidence, but also humble. And, if you look at Jesus and Muhammad, peace be upon them both men with great humility. They lived their lives with humility. On the other side of humility is arrogance. And there's an assessment called the Hogan, very, very well known. I'd say it's in the top 2 or 3 assessments in the world. And they assess executives and leaders on what are those positive traits that has impacted your success, and what are those characteristics that you better watch out for because it could derail you. And these are well-researched, well-proven derailers. One of the derailers is called bold. And the way they define bold is arrogance, or a sense of entitlement, or overestimating their worth and value. We know who they are. We know who the humble are. We know who the bold are. By the way, humble, I always say that people that are really humble, they don't have to tell you they're humble. If they're humble, they don't even mention the word humble. They just exude it, and people see it in them. But I had, I had a couple of people that worked for me in the past, and they went through the Hogan assessment, and they scored in the danger zone of bold, of arrogance. Now, there's confidence, which is a great quality, but confidence done too much goes into the danger zone, which these two people had. And you know what was interesting? They came to me and they told me about it with pride. They were proud being bold, like as if that's what's required to be a top-notch business person. You know, nonsense. And I won't. And if you look at their careers today, they have derailed. So, and I always look back. You know, when I do these videos, oftentimes you'll hear me ask the question: think of the best manager, worst manager you ever had. What made them the best? What made them the worst? I'm sure if you looked at the best, humility might play a role, and if you look at the worst, arrogance might play a role. There's a couple of quotes I like to refer to when it comes to humility. By the way, I think I've always said that being a strong man, it takes a strong man to be a gentleman, a strong man to be a gentleman. The same with humility. There's a person by the name of Thomas Morton, a writer, who once said that humility is the surest sign of strength. And another author, C.K. Chesterton, said that it is always the secure who can be humble. By the way, I like giving quotes and I like giving examples because I think they illustrate the point you're trying to make. C.S. Lewis, who's also a writer and a theologian, once said that humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. It's looking out for the greater good of others, not self-serving. I love this quote by Zig Ziglar, who's a well-known motivational author. He said that humility will open more doors than arrogance will. I believe that. And one other thing I'll say about humility is don't overestimate yourself and don't ever underestimate others. Listen to others. It's a key component of humility. Finally, I don't know who to attribute this last quote because I've seen it attributed to a couple of people, but I've always used this quote in my talks, and I love this quote. It's that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. That, to me, also sums up what humility is. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.